1. Introduction. The moon hung low over the sleepy seaside town of Marwood Bay, spilling silver light across narrow, cobblestone streets slick with last night's rain. A lone figure paused beneath a wrought iron lamp post, shoulders heavy under the weight of a tailored overcoat. He glanced up at the carved wooden sign of "The Siren's Call," tavern where laughter and the click of wine glasses drifted out into the night, oblivious to the storm brewing in his heart. In his palm, a yellowed letter trembled, its elegant script a relic of happier days. But within its neat lines lay the confession that would shatter everything he'd known, the revelation of betrayal so deep that only vengeance could salve the wound. For readers lingering at the edge of their seats, this will be a journey through the tangled corridors of love and deceit, through sunlit memories and shadowed regrets. Prepare to wander lush villas on the Amalfi coast, to taste the salt air off the docks of Lisbon, to feel the distant rumble of revenge gathering like thunder on the horizon. Stay close, for the path winds long and twisted, and once you step onto it, there is no turning back. 2. The full tale with all its unfolding consequences. Childhood and first love. Sophia Leone was born in the citrus-scented hills above Amalfi, the daughter of a local vintner whose wines captured the warmth of the southern Italian sun. From the moment Alessandro Moretti first saw her, hair like spun gold, laughter dancing in her eyes, he was lost. They grew up wandering olive groves hand in hand, whispering dreams beneath blooming lemon blossoms. Every stolen kiss tasted of ripening fruit, every promise felt as unbreakable as the mountain stone. By their 16th summer, they vowed to join their family's enterprises into a shared legacy, vineyards that would marry the Moretti name with the Leone centuries of winemaking artistry. Alessandro trained as a sommelier in Florence. Sophia studied enology in Bordeaux. Their letters, hundreds of them, traveled by courier between the vineyards of Tuscany and the chateaux of France. Each page overflowed with devotion, mixing poetic gushings with technical diagrams of fermentation tanks and cellar ladders. The Golden Era. After 4 years abroad, Alessandro returned, triumphant, to a gala unveiling of their joint winery at the edge of Marwood Bay. Under crystal chandeliers, crowned with garlands of vine leaves, he and Sophia moved through the tables of dignitaries, their eyes alight with shared dreams. With every toast, every whispered plan for expansion into Napa or Tokai, they built a world that seemed invincible. In those heady months, they purchased a centuries-old palazzo overlooking the harbor. Walls freshly whitewashed, floors of terracotta warmed by the afternoon sun, mosaics of ancient myth at their thresholds. This was their haven. Sophia designed a garden of lavender and jasmine where they would dine at sunset, and Alessandro installed a wine cellar so vast he joked it could rival that of any duke. Their laughter echoed down the marble halls. Their future glowed like the finest sweet rose. The first cracks. Yet beneath the alabaster perfection, small fractures began to spread. Alessandro's work took him to distant land fairs in Shanghai, Sao Paulo, and beyond. He would send Sophia postcards of neon skylines and mountain vistas, but the nights in her bed felt colder with each passing month. Meanwhile, Sophia threw herself into perfecting a new vintage, an ambitious blend of Amalfi lemons and Sicilian oranges aged in French oak barrels. She drafted business plans with sharper edges, longing for Alessandro's approval. Their correspondence, once suffused with longing, turned clinical. He wrote of shipping manifests and labor disputes. She replied with tasting notes and marketing budgets. When they met, their conversations ping-ponged between profit margins and export tariffs. Passion gave way to practicality. Love slipped through their hands like the foam atop of vintage champagne. The betrayal. The afternoon it all collapsed. A courier arrived with an unmarked envelope. Inside lay photographs. Sophia laughing in the arms of Matteo Ricci, a suave importer from Genoa, on a midnight sail under the port's floodlights. Next to them, a plate of oysters, a bottle of their prized rose half empty. Alessandro's hand shook as he flipped through the frames. The way her head tilted on Matteo's shoulder, the ease in her smile, the brush of fingertips. He confronted her in the palazzo's great hall. The candelabra stormed his face with flickering light as she tried stammering excuses. At first, there was anger, white-hot, volcanic. He roared that she'd stolen his trust, his dreams, his very soul. Then the shock turned to cold, calculated emptiness, a wound so deep that only revenge could fill the void. Exile and reinvention. Within days, Alessandro sold his shares in the winery to Sofia's family, took every penny he could extract, and vanished. He surfaced in Lisbon, reinventing himself as a consultant for struggling port houses. He lived in a small flat above the Alfama district, its windows overlooking tile-strewn alleys. He spent nights walking past fado bars, the mournful songs echoing his own heartbreak. Daytimes he pored over Portuguese shipping logs, charted Matteo Ricci's business contacts, and scouted legal loopholes for a future reckoning. As months stretched into years, he evolved from wounded lover into a strategist. He learned languages, Mandarin, Arabic, Russian, so he could follow the money trails across continents. He forged alliances with forensic accountants in Geneva, private investigators in Istanbul, and data brokers in Dubai. Each new contact was a stepping stone in a vast mosaic of vengeance. 3. Identification of the core problem. The true wound lay not in Sofia's infidelity alone, but in the vast network of complicity that allowed Matteo Ricci to seduce and then betray Alessandro, to seize the fruits of his labor and tarnish his name in the wine community. The betrayal was not solely personal, it was professional, financial, and social. Sofia had never simply cheated on him. She had weaponized his love to advance her own ambitions and those of her new lover. The problem, Alessandro realized, was systemic. Privilege cloaked in beauty and pedigree, power fortified by money and connections. Sofia and Matteo thrived in salons and auctions, while he, cast aside, was left to rebuild from ashes. Mere exposure of the affair would never suffice. He needed to dismantle the aristocratic scaffolding that propped them up, brick by brick. 4. The turning point, blueprint for vengeance. One rainy night in a hidden office beneath Marseille's old port warehouses, Alessandro reached the end of his patience. He spread out a massive pen board, dozens of photographs, spreadsheets, intercepted emails, ledger entries, strings of red yarn-connected names, and shell companies across London, Luxembourg, and the Cayman Islands. Beside it lay a small glass vial containing a sliver of blue-green algae, evidence that Matteo's favorite vineyards in Sicily had been illegally irrigated with treated wastewater, falsifying appellation standards. His plan crystallized in that dimly lit room, a 5-phase assault designed to annihilate Sofia's reputation, bankrupt Matteo's empire, and reclaim his own legacy. Phase 1. The Whisper Campaign. Acquire exclusive rights to a leaked manuscript by a disgruntled former Leon family insider. Feed scathing anecdotes to gossip columnists in Milan and Paris about Sofia's ruthless ambition and secret offshore accounts. Seed rumors of adulterous liaisons with multiple high society figures, diluting sympathy for her betrayal. Phase 2. The Legal Guillotine. Retain a top maritime attorney to challenge the Sicilian irrigation scheme, using the algae sample to demand vineyard inspections. Initiate class action suits on behalf of small winemakers defrauded by counterfeit DOC labels. File motions to freeze bank accounts tied to Matteo's shell corporations under money laundering statutes. Phase 3. The Financial Stranglehold. Short sell shares in Matteo's publicly traded import conglomerate, using inside intelligence to trigger margin calls. Collaborate with rival importers in Asia to undercut Ricci's contracts with exclusive bulk wine purchases. leveraged political contacts in Genoa to impose new tariffs on lemon-infused blends popularized by Sofia's Leone Ricci collection. Phase 4. The Social Execution. Host a charity gala in London under a philanthropic front, covertly inviting key investors in Sofia's ventures. Reveal photographic evidence and sworn affidavits of her corruption within the gala slideshow. Ensure paparazzi are tipped to capture the moment as her associates distance themselves in horror. Phase 5. The Final Strike. Publish a tell-all memoir under Alessandro's real name, detailing every twist of betrayal with forensic precision. Auction off rare Leone vintage barrels with provenance signed by Alessandro himself. 100% of proceeds to victims of workplace sexual harassment. A pointed statement about Sofia's own betrayals. Announce a new venture, Phoenix Vineyards, helmed by Alessandro, merging ethics and craftsmanship in a direct affront to everything Sofia and Matteo represented. 5. Execution of the plan and the destruction of the trader's life. Over the next 18 months, Alessandro moved like a shadow across continents. In Zurich, a hush-hush meeting with a judicial whistleblower unlocked bank records. In New York, a late-night luncheon with investigative journalists saw the leak of incriminating emails. By spring, Forbes ran a cover story headlined, "The Golden Vine's Dark Roots," laying bare the irrigation fraud and offshore skimming. In Sicily, inspectors descended on Ricci's sun-baked estates. Barrels were seized, denomination stamps revoked. Sofia's stocks plummeted as distributors in Tokyo and London canceled orders, unwilling to risk scandal. Matteo's company saw its market value slide by 40% overnight. Hedge funds pounced, orchestrating a margin call cascade that left the firm insolvent. The social blow was even more devastating. At the London Gala, as Alessandro's projected images flickered across the screen, Sofia's closest friends shrank away. Wine critics revoked her coveted sommelier's circle membership. Influencers scrubbed mentions of her brand from their feeds. Photographs captured her stricken face as she slipped from the event in an unmarked car, shoulders hunched in shame. Sofia and Matteo fled Europe under assumed names. Their vast palazzo was repossessed by creditors. Vineyards were auctioned off to pay lawsuits. On the day the court sentenced Matteo to 3 years for fraud and money laundering, cameras caught Sofia watching a traveler's bus roll past her rented cottage in Provence, her once powerful world reduced to a handful of sparse possessions in a rented closet. 6. Post-story, a few years later. 2 years on. By the spring following the collapse, Alessandro had launched Phoenix Vineyards on the sun-drenched cliffs of Marwood Bay. The tasting room, hewn from driftwood and local stone, offered not just wine, but an immersive narrative experience. Visitors walked through interactive exhibits showing the perils of unchecked ambition. Phoenix Rose became an overnight sensation, lauded for its purity and its morality pledge. The label promised a percentage of profits to environmental restoration in Sicily. Every bottle bore Alessandro's signature embossed in gold, a subtle reminder that true craftsmanship arises from integrity, not convenience. His memoir, Spilled Wine, top bestseller lists in 3 languages, praised for its raw honesty and meticulous research. 5 years later, Marwood Bay flourished into a model of sustainable viticulture. Small producers adopted traceability blockchain systems first championed by Phoenix Vineyards. The local university opened a department of ethical oenology, funded by grants from Alessandro's foundation. Sofia's name, once on every connoisseur's lips, has fallen into obscurity. Rumor has it she teaches French in a provincial lycée under an alias. Matteo serves out his sentence in a low-security facility, his contacts long abandoned. They remain living testaments to the ruin that greed and betrayal can sow. And Alessandro? He walks his lavender garden each dawn, inhaling the dew-damp air, listening to the sea's gentle roar. In the distance, the old Leone Palazzo stands quiet once more, its windows boarded, its vines untended. Yet in its silent halls, he hears the echo of what once was, and the steady pulse of what can be reborn. For in every broken heart lies the seed of a new beginning, if one has the courage to tend it. Hit subscribe and dive into jaw-dropping tales of betrayal. Your next scandal awaits.